Hey everyone, welcome to another training video in SC-300 Microsoft Identity and Access Administrator series. In this video, I will cover the learning path Explore Identity in Microsoft Entra ID and its second module Identity Administration Concepts. I have already done video on Explore Identities. In case you are new to this channel, please subscribe it for future updates. In this module of Identity Administration Concepts, I will talk about the centralized and decentralized identity management using various tools, including the Microsoft Graph. My name is Navneet Kumar and I am a Microsoft certified trainer. The identity objects such as user accounts, groups, and the roles for the assignment of the permissions are managed over their life cycle using a combination of manual and automated process. This ensures the security and the operational efficiency. The management process includes the following key areas like the identity proliferation, as you see on top in this image. It is provisioning and deprovisioning as well. The provisioning involves creating and assigning the identity objects like the users or groups to various systems and the resources. This is often automated for efficiency purpose. The deprovisioning is the process for disabling or removing the identities when they are no longer required. This prevents the unauthorized access. Talking about the synchronization, the identity data is often synchronized across multiple systems, be it on-premises directories and the cloud platform. This ensures the consistency of user information and access permissions across various environments. The group management is used to organize the users into groups based on the roles or permissions are required. Automation tools can dynamically update group membership based on the change in the user's attributes or the status or roles. This reduces the manual overhead. User interface is a user-friendly interface that allows the administrators to manage the identities and resources efficiently. The self-service portals are used by the users that they can manage their profiles. This reduces the burden on administrators. Identity updates is actually the regular update, the role changes, personal details that must be reflected across all the connected systems. Automated processes can ensure that these updates happen in real time. It reduces the errors. The password management is done through the automated systems for password reset, complexity enforcement, and expiration. This helps securing the identities and reducing the administrative workloads. Next is applications entitlement management. The identity management includes assigning or removing the access to applications based on the roles and permissions. The automating application provisioning is based on defined business rules. Finally, we have change control and managing the changes to the identities like the updates to access rights and the roles is governed by the strict change control procedure or process to ensure the compliance and minimize the security risks. The administration provides the highly configurable systems, agility for scaling, cost saving, flexibility around the synchronization and the change control. In a nutshell, the identity management over the life cycle is a blend of manual oversight and the automated processes ensures the security, flexibility, and efficiency at scale. Talking about the management of these identities using automation tools, the PowerShell and CLI plays a crucial role. Talking about the Azure PowerShell, this is a module that can be used in Microsoft's PowerShell, which is open source today and can run on Windows, Mac OS, or Linux distributions. This requires the Windows PowerShell or the PowerShell core. Windows PowerShell is designed for Windows that uses .NET framework, whereas the PowerShell core is .NET core based PowerShell and can be deployed on non-Windows machines as well. The CLI is the command line interface. This is the cross-platform command line interface that is installable on Windows, Mac OS, Linux. You can download it and install it on your different platform devices. The scripting languages, the Azure CLI is used to create the user. The commands start with AZ, the group, and then the subgroup is AD, then the command user create, and so on. Whereas in Azure PowerShell, the command has a different syntax that is in verb-noun. In that context, the commands are written to create and manage these identities. We also can use the infrastructure as code, that is for the management of the infrastructure network, virtual machines, load balancers, etc. That we can use in a descriptive model and using the scripting and design principles. Talking about the Microsoft Graph, which is a powerful API and the platform provided by Microsoft, it enables the developers to access a wide range of data and services within the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. It allows for seamless integration with Microsoft services like Azure Active Directory, today known as Entra ID, Office 365, SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, and many more. This is using the unified API endpoint. About the key features of Microsoft Graph. Number one is unified access. Microsoft Graph provides a single endpoint, that is graph.microsoft.com, to access the data from various Microsoft services. This simplifies the integration and management of these services. Data from Microsoft 365. With Microsoft Graph, you can access the information like user profiles, organizational charts, calendars, emails, documents, groups, and many other resources that are stored within the Microsoft 365 suite. Identity and authentication. The Microsoft Graph integrates tightly with the Entra ID that enables you to manage the identities, authenticate users, control access to resources using the modern identity protocols like OAuth 2.0 or OpenID Connect. Real-time insights and analysis, security and compliance, rich data models, extensibility, delegation and application permissions are some other features of the Microsoft Graph. We have the identities systems categorized into two different categories like central identity management systems and the decentralized identities. The centralized identity management is actually a system where the user identities, credentials, and the related attributes to that are stored, managed, and controlled in a single central repository. The centralized approach simplifies the identity and access management processes, improves the security and operational efficiency. Here are few of the examples like how it works. For an instance, a company uses a centralized identity management system like Entra ID to store all user credentials and permissions. When an employee joins the company, their account is created in the central system and they are assigned to relevant groups, be it marketing, HR, IT, sales. This grants them the access to the appropriate resources. If the employee leaves, their access is revoked by deactivating their central identity account, and this ensures that they can no longer access the sensitive information. The key characteristics of centralized identity management systems are like single source of truth. All user identities, including the username, passwords, roles, permissions, are stored in one centralized system. This ensures the consistency across the applications and services. This is single source of truth. Authentication and authorization, credentials verification, management by a single authority, roles and permissions, identity and access management, provisioning and deprovisioning of the user, single sign-on, multi-factor authentication, role-based access control are many advantages of using the centralized management systems. This offers the improved security, simplified user management, reduced administrative overhead, better compliance because everything is centralized, improved user experiences, and the scalability. Now that we have discussed the centralized identity, let's talk about the decentralized identity. The decentralized identity represents to a shift toward the self-sovereign or user-controlled identity management system we are using these days. By leveraging technologies like the blockchain and the cryptography, the users can securely and privately manage their identities without the need for intermediaries. While this ensures that their identity data is tamper resistant immutable, and censorship resistant. This approach empowers individuals to take control of their online presence and secure their interactions in the digital world. The decentralized identity flow that you see here is actually the decentralized identifiers, also referred as DID. The DID users create, own, and control the identities independently of any organization or government. DIDs are globally unique identifiers linked to decentralized public key infrastructure, metadata composed of JSON documents that contains the public key material, and authentication descriptors and the service endpoints. The decentralized systems, for example, the blockchain or ledgers, did DID, the decentralized identity, is actually rooted in a decentralized system that provides the mechanism and features that are required for DPKI. Microsoft is participating in the development of standards and technologies that are being developed by the community to allow for a vibrant ecosystem of DID implementations that support a variety of blockchain and ledgers. The DID user agents, the applications that enable real people to use the decentralized identities, user agent apps, AID, is created through the DID, managing the data and permissions and signing validating DID linked claims. Microsoft will offer a wallet like app that can act as a user agent for managing the DIDs and associated data. Next is DIF Universal Resolver, a server that utilizes the collection of DID drivers to provide a standard means of looking the resolution for DID across implementations and decentralized systems. The server also returns the DID document object DDO that encapsulates DPKI metadata associated with a DID. DIF identity hubs, a replicated mesh or of the encrypted personal data stores that is composed of cloud and edge instances like the mobile phones, PCs, or the smart speakers that facilitates the identity that storage and the identity interactions. DID attestations are DID signed attestations based on the standard formats and protocols. These DID signed attestations enable identity owners to generate, present, and verify the claims. This form the basic trust between the users of the systems. Decentralized apps and services are actually paired with identity hub personal data stores that enable the creation of new class of apps and services. They store with the user's identity hub and operate with the confines of the premises they are granted. This shows you the different components that are involved in the decentralized identity management systems. And for more details, I'll put the white papers link in the description of this video that you can visit about the standards and the protocols and the components used in the DID workflow. Well, Microsoft Entra Verified ID is actually part of Microsoft's approach to implement the decentralized identity system using the verifiable credentials. It is a powerful and flexible system that enables users and organizations to manage the identities securely and privately without relying on a centralized authority. Microsoft Entra is designed to support the self-sovereign identity, SSI we call them, where users have control over their identity data and can selectively share their credentials with trusted parties. The key concepts of the Microsoft Entra ID are decentralized identity, verifiable credentials, alignment with W3C Decentralized Identifier DID specifications. DIDs are typically represented as the URL or a string that can be used to identify the individuals, organizations, or objects in a decentralized manner. The decentralized document contains the metadata about the DID and the public key associated with it. Well, the components, most of the components we have discussed of the DID. The key benefits of using Microsoft Entra Verify ID are user control and privacy, security and trust, decentralized nature, interoperability, scalability, and reduced frauds and the identity thefts. Identity and access management solutions in Microsoft Entra ID, we can use the different types of identity systems. An identity solution controls the access to the organization's apps and data. Users, devices, and applications have identities, the human beings or the hardwares or the workload identities in this case. Microsoft Entra ID architecture and terms. Microsoft Entra ID is a cloud-based identity management system, also referred as identity as a service sometimes. And the key concepts in this are the subscriptions, that is the pay per use model, tenant, digital representation of your organization like a contoso.com tenant, so each organization has a tenant, identity, an object in the Microsoft Entra ID that gets authenticated. This can be a device, can be a user, can be a service principal or managed identity. Account, an identity that has the data associated with it, generally the attributes we can say. User, a verified account associated with a person. It is an identity associated with for a human being. We have different flavors of Entra ID like B2B, business to business, and the Entra ID business to business is a feature of the Entra ID that enables the organizations to securely share their applications and resources with external partners, vendors, and collaborators. This is through the Entra B2B external users. They can access the company resources using their own existing credentials like their own organizational or social identity providers like Google or Facebook identities without needing to create a new account. We can invite them as an external member or a guest. I have done a separate video on the identity management also. In case you are new to the internal external members or the guest or members, then please do watch that. I'll put the link in the description of this video. This B2B provides the seamless collaboration between two businesses, single sign-on, identity management through the Entra ID. This handles the authentication, authorization, and access control to the resources, cost effective, and the companies can use the Entra B2B to allow its partners to access shared documents and collaborate using the Microsoft Teams without needing them to create their accounts in this directory as a native account or user. In short, the Entra B2B allows the companies to extend secure access to their resources and collaborate with external entities without compromising security or requiring them to manage additional identities of their partners. The Microsoft Entra B2C. B2C is a cloud-based identity system and the access management solution that allows the organizations to securely manage and authenticate the external consumer identities. If you have a public-facing application, you can use the B2C where the users can sign up to this directory to access the resources protected by it. It is part of the Microsoft Entra suite and enables the businesses to provide personalized access to applications and the services of their customers, for their customers, partners, and other external users. The key features of that, it is customizable. You can customize the sign-in page completely, social and local accounts, secure access, scalability, flexible access management. The example use case can be like a retailer uses the Entra B2C to allow customers to sign into their mobile application using their Google or Facebook accounts for personalized shopping experiences, loyalty programs, and secure checkouts, that too without creating separate accounts for every consumer. In short, the Microsoft Entra business to consumer is a scalable and customizable identity solution that is designed to manage the external consumer identities, enabling the businesses to offer secure, flexible, and seamless access to their applications and services. Microsoft 365 uses the Microsoft Entra ID to manage the user identities behind the scenes. Your Microsoft 365 subscriptions include a free Microsoft Entra ID subscription so that you can integrate your on-premises Active Directory domain services to synchronize user accounts and passwords and set up the single sign-on as well. You can also purchase advanced features to better manage your accounts. Microsoft Entra ID offers the functionalities like managing and integrating the applications that you can use to extend and customize your Microsoft 365 subscriptions. If you have a paid subscription to Microsoft 365, you also have a free Microsoft Entra subscription. You can use this Entra ID to create and manage the users, groups, devices. To activate this subscription, you must complete a one-time registration. You can access the Microsoft Entra ID from the Microsoft 365 Admin Center to manage these licenses and the identities. Comparison of Microsoft Entra ID to the Microsoft Entra domain service and the on-premises Active Directory domain service. For your reference, the Entra domain service is actually a managed domain service, a Kerberos-based service inside Azure you can run. Though it is a managed service, but it is different than the Entra ID because the Entra ID uses the industry authentication protocols like SAML or WS Federation or OpenID, whereas the Entra ID you can think of like your Active Directory domain service running in Azure without deploying the servers. This is a managed domain service. Whereas we can have Active Directory domain services in our on-premises that is completely enterprise ready lightweight directory service. LDAP services also you can run, and you can have your identities, group policies, forest, domain, everything in place in this Active Directory domain. You can configure the hybrid identities for the synchronization of identities from the Active Directory domain service to the Entra ID. Talking about the monthly active users, the licenses are assigned for accessing the applications. We have different SKUs, the P1, P2 licenses for Microsoft Entra ID, Entra ID governance, Microsoft 365, Office 365 licenses, Microsoft 365 plus security licenses, Windows license needed per user on the service. The monthly active user billing is the pricing model used for external users like those in the B2B or B2C scenarios in Microsoft Entra ID. This was formerly known as Azure Active Directory. The model tracks and bills based on the number of unique users who actively use the service during a billing month. The key features of monthly active user billing is the definition of active users. We need to first understand the active user is someone who has authenticated and used the Entra ID based applications or services at least once within the billing month. This includes logging in through the Entra ID or external identity providers that they use, accessing any cloud-based applications integrated with Entra ID B2C or B2B, external user categories, the B2B users, B2C users, then the billing cycle monthly, and Microsoft Entra ID typically offers the free tier for both B2B and B2C users. For instance, they may be set a number of monthly active users included in the free each month, like 50,000 licenses or 50,000 users, monthly active users for Entra ID B2C, with charges applied once this threshold is exceeded. The pricing structure is, after exceeding the free tier, organizations are billed based on the number of active users. The pricing is typically per user, meaning the more external user activity or actively they are engaging with your applications, the higher the cost will be. Well, if I provide you an example of this monthly active user bills, suppose your organization uses the Entra ID B2B, business to business, to provide access to the internal portal for 100 external partners. If each partner logs in once within the given month, you would be billed for 100 MAUs, monthly active users, for that month. If your organization uses the Entra ID B2C to allow 200 external customers to sign up and log into the applications during the month, you would be billed for the 200 monthly active users. Well, this brings to the end of this module. In the next module, I will talk about the authorization and authentication in Entra ID. I hope this was informative to you. Thanks for watching and do subscribe the channel.